For this assignment, you should have a scale sheet that should have up to 3 different major scales on it. Please make sure you check with your class section to see which scales that you are supposed to be playing for this assignment before you start. All of these scale sheets are available for download at my website. First, we want to make sure that our instrument is in working order and that we have all of our materials nearby. So make sure you have those scales or any type of music that you'd like to read off of for these scales, a metronome or tuner. I'm using my iPad right here to demonstrate a metronome. Any oils or any other cloths that you need to get your instrument in working order. If you play a wind instrument, make sure you warm up on your mouthpiece. If you're playing a string instrument, make sure you're stretching a bit, warming up your hands, and warming up a bit with your bow. Decide which scale that you're going to play, what rhythm you'd like to play it at, and what tempo. Now for the assignment, we're going to be using half notes, but you can practice on a bunch of different rhythms. Today, we're going to show you 3 different rhythms. So you're going to set your metronome to the beats per minute that you've selected, and you're going to use your practice strategies to go over these notes and scales. For a demonstration, I'm going to show you an example of my B-flat major scale with 3 different rhythm patterns. I'm going to keep the metronome going at the same tempo, and I'm going to go up and down my scale in whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. So to start, I'm just going to go up the scale using whole notes. You may want to use a half note pattern. I will go down the scale using half notes. Or you might want to try playing the whole scale up and down with quarter notes. Feel free to use any combination of tempos or rhythms. So let's break it down a bit. Let's pretend like I'm having some trouble getting the correct note to speak on my instrument. First, we want to double check and make sure that we are playing it correctly. We're in the right position, have the correct fingerings down, we're on the right string, or whatever applies to your instrument. So it's very important, if you are learning anything that is new or possibly you can't remember some of the notes, make sure you have a fingering chart in front of you. If you play out of Measures of Success, the fingering chart is located towards the back of the book. If you play a string instrument, there are fingering charts available towards the front of your book, although some of the notes on there are limited, so these are also available for all instruments online if you Google your instrument plus fingering chart. So if I'm having issue with perhaps some of these top notes on my B-flat scale, they're not quite coming out, I might isolate those notes to make sure the correct ones come out. For instance, I might choose to sing it. I'll play the starting pitch on my instrument and try to match those pitches with my voice. B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. If I was having trouble on A, I'd try to isolate that note. A, Lu, T. And try to make sure the pitches match. If you're a brass player, you could try to take your mouthpiece out and buzz those different pitches of your scale. So the same thing, you could play your starting pitch and try to buzz up your scale using our known intervals. play a string instrument, you could pizzicato the scale before adding the bow. You could air bow to make sure you have the right bowing patterns. You can do just left hand fingers alone to make sure you have those patterns correctly. The most important thing is when you're noticing an issue in your playing, you have to isolate it and figure out what that issue is. And sometimes, if these notes seem a little bit newer to you, or they are a little bit of a struggle, especially for our wind instruments or string instruments who need to stretch with the third and fourth finger, make sure you're playing those a bunch and trying to match your easier notes for you with the same sound.